Welcome everybody. Welcome to our regular webinar on learning agility and digital skilling in the post-COVID era. We've got a fantastic response, so thank you for joining us. We've got standing room only, apparently our floor manager tells us, a full house. So appreciate it, and I know we've got some really cluey people on the webinar for today. And a big welcome to our partners, the DQ Institute, and of course, Sprout Logics. Thanks again for joining us. A big welcome to my co-host, Phil Mottram.
Hello, everyone.
A guru in learning and development and change, as many of you know him, looking particularly dapper today.
Thank you very much. Doing my best Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs, yeah, maybe. We've got Sam Ling on keyboard off camera from our team. and myself, Andrew Johnstone-Burt. Those who don't know me, a partner at 3 Points Digital. A bit of context, why we, a digital strategy firm, are talking about learning. Let's put that into perspective. Some of you have already heard from us a little bit about our point of view on how we believe we're at a reset moment. We're coming out of what has been a horrible time locally and globally. And as we stumble into a new world, we believe this is a good way to reset how we operate, how we interact with our customers, rather than resume the way we were. And there's a bunch of strategies we're sharing with senior leadership teams about how to do that as we approach one of potentially the worst recessions we've ever seen. Underpinning that and central to that is this idea of closing the digital divide, of upskilling in digital skills. In our consulting work pre-COVID, really, we kept on bumping into this skills gap, Phil. Yep.
Yeah, it was a promise, I think, that a lot of consulting companies tried to make in terms of, how do we upskill organizations to take advantage of the transformation, solutions.
Now, the three focus questions for the webinar over the next 50 to 60 minutes that we're focusing on, Sam, I think will bring up the slide. First is, why learning agility and why digital skilling? Why is it important and why now? And we're going to spend a bit of time on that. What are those skills? How do we define them? What do they mean? Why they're important? Where do they come from? Share a bit of research with you that may be relevant to your organization. And then the third question, how might we acquire those quickly? And a lot of us have been around a bit, and affordably. And we know that's a major challenge for a lot of HR departments specifically, but broadly businesses. A lot of what we were seeing pre-COVID, deglobalization, increasing competition from other industry players in terms of digital disruption, etc., all accelerating. The underpinning factor, in our view, is the need for senior executives to focus on upskilling their workforce in digital skills. So what do we mean? Let's jump over the page and spend a little time on here. The research Phil led over a couple of months was concluded by finding 6 digital competencies. We've got 3 on the top there, and I'll let you digest them as we go. Tell us the bit about the research, Phil.
Yeah, so we looked at over 30 different international standards and sources of information to come up with these 6 areas. I think as we looked at what's happening in the context, right now or even before COVID, we saw these as key trends that needed to be adopted by organizations, and that's only increased in this current environment.
For instance, what do we mean by digital ways of working? It's more than organizing Zoom calls, isn't it?
Oh, it's absolutely working in digital channels.
Yeah.
It's about maximizing the use of technology in these interactions. So we've gone from teaming to virtual teaming, to online collaboration, not just collaboration. It's a different skill set to be able to get the most out of, that technology.
And I think, why agile transformation? I mean, what is agile transformation? I think a lot of people are facing that challenge. What is it first? What is agile transformation?
Well, we want to be able to pivot quicker to what's going on in the marketplace. We want to be able to prototype quicker, bring products quicker to market, services quicker to market, and the way to do that is through Agile.
And I think, why is it important now, Phil, and why has that become now an issue for the front burner? is because smaller teams have proven they're more responsive to a crisis, and that's in the data so far. Those that are coming out of this crisis quicker and better are those with more empowered teams, they're more agile and able to get their job done with a clear purpose, I think.
Yeah.
So the second row there on the slide, innovation and design. I mean, what I'm hearing about innovation, Phil, is the innovation folks are scrambling. We've had people rapidly changing their products and services. They were producing alcohol 1 minute, now they're producing hand sanitizer. So again, innovation potentially put to the side, now coming to the front burner.
We need to listen to the client. We need to put the customer first. And when you look at design thinking and the right innovation and creativity techniques, that's where we need to focus.
And when we go back to that 42% people changing their consumer behavior,
absolutely, if
we're not using design thinking techniques, we will miss the opportunity for getting our customers back on board.
Well, you can see also just to the point you're at the beginning around resetting, you can see how each one of these areas actually helps you reset.
Yeah. And data analytics and AI, clearly, we've seen a lot of companies that are not data centric. They're not using data to make good business decisions. So it's relevant whether you're operating a branch as a branch manager for a bank, a retail bank, or you're on the executive committee for a major corporate. Data centricity, simple and easy access to data to make decisions. How do you do that? How is it done now? It's always been relevant, and it's particularly important now as people need to make quick decisions.
That's right. In a crisis, we can't just go back to what we've always done. We've got to use the data.
And lastly, cybersecurity. New South Wales government, as an example, announced a 1.6 billion over 3 years investment in upskilling, in general digital technology investment. 240 million of that was in improving cyber security, resilience, vulnerability. Now, clearly, there's a huge link to how we as individuals and as we manage our teams, manage our cyber vulnerability, our cyber security.
Yeah, it couldn't be more important after even the start of this week in the news about the number of state-sponsored attacks.
Yeah, no, great.
Well, we think this is a bit of a hero competency, that more than just being a mindset, learning agility comes with a set of practices that help you deal with unfamiliar situations.
Right.
It involves people being able to let go of habits, behaviors, skills, ways of doing things that are no longer relevant in a changed context, and being able to adapt and apply new learnings to a context that is unfamiliar to them.
So handling ambiguity right up the front as an important component of that.
Absolutely. The ability to be curious, the ability to innovate. And one of the key things that the research says is the ability to reflect, being able to take that sort of balcony and dance floor view of looking down on even, our situation here, and how could we reflect on and enhance what we're doing, or what are we learning from this situation?
Let's move to the sort of the third question about how might we acquire these skills quickly. Now, there's a range of research we did on this in terms of, a lot of folks have told us, well, I've got an LMS, a learning management system, it's Oracle or SAP or something, and I'm using Salesforce. I've got the My Trailhead for my product learning. But I'm struggling a little bit with A, how those are connected, and B, they're not necessarily giving me the ROI or the return that I'd hoped. Is a typical sort of question that we've confronted. So we had to go at looking at that.
Yeah. So I think that the things that people are telling us is that if they're going to address these skills and upskill in these key areas, it's got to be easy to deploy.
Yeah.
And if it's either part of their system or it sits alongside their system.
Yeah. It's got to be relevant to all levels and functions. And increasingly, we talked about it 20 years ago, and I know there's some L&D folks on this webinar who we used to talk about it too, around making a personalized learning journey relevant to an individual. And again, we're not quite there yet with that generally. And equally, the last one, affordability.
Yeah.
It's got to be affordable at scale, isn't it? And given the gap we've got, i.e. arguably a gap in particularly digital skills and collaboration and so on, we need to scale quickly. So therefore it's got to be affordable.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we've also found is that when you start into the digital space, it's got to be using contemporary content, and I think that's one of the keys that we found there.
Yeah, contemporary and access to that, because things have moved so quickly, haven't they?
Yeah,
particularly
it's not in books, it's not in textbooks.
No, and we certainly found that in the uni work we did recently. So we came up with 5 attributes and this idea of adaptive learning. Let's just maybe talk a bit about what we mean by adaptive learning.
Adaptive learning is really using artificial intelligence to support and personalize and tailor the learning journeys to meet unique individual learning needs.
So everything we wanted 20 years ago, but now with the power of machine learning AI, it's starting to become more realizable. So personalization is certainly something that we wanted to look for in a solution going forward. Then the idea of experience, of course. And we know that most of us are more kinesthetic learners. We learn by doing, not necessarily audio learners. So the way the learning was designed around having an experience was crucial. The need for it to be scalable, this idea of we can't afford a guru to come in a very high daily rate and give us small class load deliveries. It's got to be blended. And then it needs to be impactful. It needs to pay its way and get a clear return on investment. So
right now it's got to help us recover.
So you've got the slide there around how the adaptive learning platform, this platform that we've chosen, fits in with either your client's product-based learning systems, such as a MyTrailhead in Salesforce, or your ERP. And this slide starts to illustrate that relationship. Essentially, they sit alongside.
Yeah, so let me quickly talk about that. So what the adaptive learning platform can do is either through extracts or APIs, take information, content catalogs from other learning platforms and make those accessible inside the 3PD platform. Equally, the platform can share information with a client's learning management system to manage learning, to report on learning. And the really interesting thing is that the platform's already been used to align to systems like financial systems and other reporting systems to line learning and competency acquisition with strategic goals.
Yeah.
And that's really powerful.
And the question just come in about how do we actually upload the learning experience history of an individual? And I think that plays nicely to often that sort of content is in the learning management system and would be therefore that history of what courses completed to what level of proficiency is then able to be built into this baselining process. Now, Phil, your favorite topic
is prep.
What does it mean?
So based on David Kolb's experiential learning model, what we've done is create the prep model underpinned by human and machine feedback.
Right.
And we're big believers in learning through experience. I think we've all done that, whether it's through sport, building new habits, etc. But it starts with having an experience, reflecting on that experience, exploring ways to improve our performance, either through experimentation or by consuming content that is going to help us to then plan and practice new ways of performing in the future.
Yeah, and Sam, if we can pull the slide back up, the prep, the particular thing I particularly like about the prep is the design is there for people to reflect and to receive feedback, and I think they're the two big changes, other than actually doing something and learning by doing.
We're going to be demonstrating the desktop, the web app, and that has the full features of the platform. And then either on your phone or your iPad, you can then go in and develop your skills using the develop feature, or support others in their journey through the support feature.
So we've got Janet's page up, and it's showing the status already of where she's up to with her learning journeys that have been allocated to her.
So this is where she manages her whole experience. And in the case of Janet, she's been asked to be a change leader in learning agility. Yep. And so Samir will be supporting her. She's got Bob as her coach. But this is where this is her nerve center for managing all her activities.
And she gets notifications and prompts and so on, all tailored to her.
Yeah, you can see the activities on the left-hand side. You can also then see where she's requested feedback, or where people have requested feedback from her, where she's helping others in a supporting role as peers.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yep.
As we go down, you can see where the platform has then recommended journeys based on the baseline assessment that she's undertaken for each of those competency areas. And if we go even further down, one of the really cool features of this platform is the artificial intelligence is starting to learn about her preferences and about her needs, and is starting to recommend articles, videos, and other pieces of content that can help her learn.
This is the Netflix effect, isn't it? This is the Janet. You're doing this program on Agile. You may be interested in this TED talk on. Yeah. So this is recommended, not mandatory. And again, I think it plays to this fundamental need is to get the learning self-motivated or self-driven.
So because of her role as a team or as a change champion, she's been allocated learning agility for leaders. One of the things that happens at the very beginning, at the start of every journey, is that she gets asked to assign her supporters. So as she wants to enrich the feedback that she gets, she can ask colleagues, team members, and managers, all to contribute to her learning journey, as well as a coach.
Sure. And what we've done on the left there, Phil, is we've built in the prep, the perform, reflect, explore, plan, etc., is built into the instructional design of this.
Yeah. So in each 3PD journey, we've created those prep learning loops.
So sort of bite-sized learning, 20 minutes or so, etc., all built into the design. Nice.
We've got a range of different content on the platform, from videos through to HBR articles, websites, curated content, SCORM files, animations.
So applying to different people's different learning styles and so on.
We're able to also use the artificial intelligence to help people use the platform. And so back to a question that somebody raised about how to support managers, a manager or a learner can ask Canvas questions about the actual platform and how to use it. And then we can ask questions about the actual content or the skill to be acquired. We've been talking about experiential learning. So if we ask Canvas what is experiential learning, it's able to give us an answer. So it can send us to a website.
Again, plays to ubiquitous access for a learner at any time. They don't have to wait for the next time they see their coach, etc.
Exactly.
Sorry, you're about to go into, I want to learn more about, say, Agile.
Yeah.
That's what do? I
can go and search on a topic.
Oh, then I get a bunch of access to a bunch of content.
Yep. So whether it's a series of links that are already in the system, some documents, some videos, and in this case, there's something like 93 odd courses on Agile or related to Agile that I could take as part of this. And that's part of the link between other platforms and this platform.
Very powerful. So if I've got my Trailhead, I'm doing a product training in CRM, I would have links in this page to click through to.
they could manage all their
Through that
learning through
content. So in
this.
that sense, this platform manages the journey with the coach and the experience, but they still get access to that product training. Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
absolutely. Okay. Yeah. So at the moment, in this particular case, manager Samir is supporting a series of journeys. You can see here that he's got some assessments, and when he takes those assessments, he would then be assigned journeys from the platform. The really interesting thing, I think, is where we're looking at. He's got some outstanding feedback requests.
Oh, yeah.
So from Janet and from Grace. And if we were to go on to have a look at, Janet has asked for feedback on her learning agility journey. Up the top where it says task, you can see that there's a specific piece of information that says if I'm Samir, I need to provide feedback on, so I can go and have a look at that.
And so he's putting it in.
Yeah, so that's right. It's going to bring up Janet's journey. You can see that she's loaded an attachment. She can, if he wants to, he can view that attachment. Once he's viewed it, he can then, which is the
workshop on the Agile, whatever.
Yeah.
Yep.
He can download that, he can mark that up, he can send it back to her. But what's even more powerful is when we go back to, now that he's looked at that piece of evidence, he can actually provide specific feedback. But one of the things that this platform does is make sure that Samir is providing good feedback.
Yeah, no, I love this feature. So this uses Tone Analyzer to analyze the sentiment, the tone, the content of his feedback.
It's against
which is a key deficiency in many cases, isn't it? Maybe the content, the feedback was too abrupt, it wasn't encouraging enough, or it wasn't specific enough. That's probably one of the most common ones, isn't it? Now we're going to show some insights. The other feature we wanted to show was insights, isn't it?
That's right. So we've looked at the intelligent personalization. We've shown how prep is in
is built into the design.
Is built in.
Yep.
The external coaching feedback, it happens two ways. It's through the feedback process, but it's also through another digital channel where we're using the collaborative tools of the client to run coaching clinics, if you will. To do actual live virtual coaching sessions.
Yep. So here we've got, what does this color chart mean? It's for Samir.
Yeah, so what does this actually mean? This is a representation of Samir's team's strengths in relation to specific competencies. So if at the bottom you can imagine your organization has let's say 5 specific core competencies that they want everybody to have, or
so
in this
planning,
case,
organization, business orientation, etc. Yep.
And that you need them at different levels of proficiency. So up on the left-hand side, you've got from novice to expert. The darker the color, the stronger, the more people are at that level. Yeah. So in the case of learning agility, we can see that there are 5 people in Samir's team who are considered effective.
But equally, a lot of them are novices around business orientation.
Yeah. So
okay.
So what that's doing is really giving him a heat map of where he's at and what he needs to do. If
we scroll down, we got a bit more around what learning agility. What 2 topics are.
Yeah, the strengths, the top 2 strengths, and the top 2 improvement areas. So again, it's giving Samir the intelligence and the insight to be able to focus on where he needs to develop. If we drill down just for a second, at a glance, Samir can see where his whole team is at, and by clicking on an individual, he knows who's at expert, who's at proficient, and so on.
And likewise, the L&D team can do the same thing.
Absolutely, at an overarching level.
Yeah. The other point here is how we might. It's a bit of a smorgasbord of competencies. How might we sort of put that into a set menu for the evening around a particular typical learning need. Now, we had a quick look at, we've worked a lot with frontline people in retail banking, for instance, and what might be their need to do this sort of digital skilling uplift. And maybe Phil, help us through the frontline digital intelligence program and what that means.
Well, one of the ways that we can set this up for clients is, 80 is a lot of competencies to look at. And so we can, from those 6 key competence areas and the global or enabling competencies, we can select specific competencies for a client to meet their needs, and build them into a program that deals with all staff and deals with that manager level that really is going to help you with recovery and digital transformation.
So these topics, the content and the skills in these topics would be tailored to that level in the organization, and whether it be a sort of a typical level 4 or level 5 in a retail bank, that program is designed for those people. I think that's crucial, because these, what does cybersecurity mean to a teller or a branch manager? So the other half of that, other part of this slide is around the leadership program. Tell us how that works.
Yeah, so as you can see, the difference between the programs, there'll be more hands-on. So more coaching. You've still got the intelligent personalization. You've got levelized programs that are targeting a different set of needs for the leaders versus the staff.
And this is a sample program for the frontline digital intelligence program. These are sort of skills people would get, information savvy, using techniques to find, organize, and analyze data, which is one of the very big needs. What does design thinking mean to a frontline worker running a retail bank or something, running a retail branch or something? So packaged up in that way.
It's really a bit like a degustation.
Yeah.
And as staff and as clients test the value of these specific learning journeys, they can start to say, well, actually, we want to tweak it this way, or add a competency, or extend it from effective through to expert.
We have some credentials, as I said, with our partner, Sprout Logics. This platform has been implemented globally with the likes of Credit Suisse, EY, and Mahindra, with different scenarios, different needs. I think Mahindra had a remote learning need. They had a lot of remote distributed workers and needed to support that. 1,200
workers scattered throughout India needing sales training.
And equally, EY, I think they were talking, not in Australia, it was in the US, had a need around culture shift in their advisors and consultants. And likewise, our own experience of running executive learning programs at the uni level with the MBA program that we pioneered around bringing AI application to business executives, business learning. So some experience has all been built into this approach, and our network of coaches, as indicated on the slide, proficient and skilled coaches in the GROW and group methodologies. For those coaches, I know we've got some in the audience today, who would know what they mean, and that network is alive and well. Plus, of course, as I mentioned, Sprout Logics as our partner. So why is learning agility and digital skills so important, and why now?
I was just going to say, from my quick summary, it's because learning agility and digital skilling are the same types of skills necessary for dealing with a crisis as they are for dealing with digital era.
We've defined specifically what those skills are. And we've talked about how to acquire them quickly, which I think arguably of those three is possibly the hardest question. I know we've got one more question from Fran. Thank you, Fran, for being active. We look forward to hearing more from you, and we look forward to an ongoing dialogue about this topic, plus how we challenge this post-COVID recovery. Thanks very much. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks. See you.